I'm up close to 5x from the time I came to the inner circle. And I was trading like a decent, I was 7 figures when I came over to him.
All right, there you heard it, everyone. Welcome to our Inner Circle Intensive, our live webinar here with myself, Greta Wall. I'm your host, and I'm joined by David Prince, leader of T3 Live's Inner Circle virtual trading floor today for this live event. That was Craig Mira, a longtime member of the room, and as you heard him say there himself, he's 5x his account by working with David. So we'll cover today how other members have done that and more, and how you can work with David yourself. All right, we're starting early here with the dogs, but as we've covered many times in these webinars, the dogs interrupting are always good luck for these webinars and for the next day for new members. So we'll take that as a good sign. Okay, hi, David. Happy Thursday. All right, so real quickly before we get into our discussion here, some disclosures for T3 Live. We are, of course, a financial media company here, so just about some disclosures here. Everyone who is with us here in the chat, be sure to say hi, let us know where you're watching from. I am in California, San Diego area.
I'm on a webinar with hundreds of people. You can't go out there with the dogs. I can't discuss it right now. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Go to the other side? All right, don't worry about it. Okay, sorry about that.
All right, anyway, and then David is in Texas. So everyone, again, say hi in the chat. Let us know where you are watching from today. So again, our agenda today is to introduce you to who David Prince is and the Inner Circle virtual trading floor, show you how this community has been doing over the past few months. The last time you and I did this, it was in June, very beginning of June, David, and it's been quite a summer for the Inner Circle since then. And then we're going to get David's game plan for right now ahead. So again, quickly about David Prince and the Inner Circle virtual trading floor. David was a nightclub owner back in the 90s. He's been a financial professional since 97, a hedge fund manager. He helped put SPACs on the map with Jamba Juice, American Apparel. He's been very involved in the biotech space with Immunome. I'm sure everyone has heard him talk a lot about Immunome in the past on Twitter or YouTube, wherever you see us doing our live events. He's definitely been involved from the very beginning there in the cannabis space as well with Hydro Farm. And then back in 2020, he partnered with us here at T3 to create the Inner Circle virtual trading floor. And that room is not just David. It is an exclusive trading room and community for hedge fund managers, family office heads, corporate executives, financial advisors, pro traders, and more. Large accounts, really advanced traders, not for beginners at all. The requirements to join the room are typically a $100,000 minimum account size and at least 2 years of experience. And again, it's led, of course, by David Prince, but then his teammates there, Kira, Farr, and Rick March in the room as well. And quickly, we'll go over some feedback from some current members of the room. These are real tweets that were posted publicly to Twitter by members of the Inner Circle. You can hear Vinod saying, discovered real discipline and strategy through Inner Circle. The analysis, guidance, and positive role modeling here have changed my approach and results. Inder saying my 7-figure account is up 60% since I joined IC in April this year. Big shout out to DP, Rick, and Kira, and all their guidance to make this happen. Another one, this is a long one, but you can just look at the parts that I highlighted there. This has without a doubt been the best run of my life. I'm just a retired construction worker who always wanted to be doing what I'm doing now. Taking the leap and joining IC was the best decision I've ever made. Oh, another long one here, but you can see Dennis saying he joined with 80K and then crossed 1 million a couple of weeks ago, just by stacking singles and doubles repeatedly, sizing up for A+ setups and sizing down when the climate dictates. And that's a lot of guidance there from David. You are simply the best, David. A real comment from the Inner Circle chat. I've made over 90K in profits trading on just 5 to 6 key ideas this week. My account's over 700K today. At the start of the week, it was at 610. A real message sent to David from a member of the room. I crossed 800K today, more than 10x since I joined. I and my family are absolutely thrilled. Your impact on our lives is immeasurable. It's not just about the money, but it's just the life-changing aspect that comes with the type of results people are seeing in this room. Another 100% in 3.5 months. You helping me get on the right track with trading has really quieted my mind and made me so much more optimistic about the future. All right, and we do want to quickly play a a video here from a real Inner Circle member as well, so you guys can just get a feel for what it's like to be a member.
Like most of the chat members that join Inner Circle, he knows about their history, he knows about what their account size is. I, as a sub, it's, I don't know how he does it, because I've been in customer service myself too, and it's hard to remember all those details, but he's able to do that. And I don't find that anywhere else. Like, I've joined Zenger's room, I've joined Doug Cass, I've followed many other people, I've been in the chats. Nobody pays that personal detail or attention to detail the amount that he does.
All right, David, anything you'd like to add about the feedback you get from your members?
I think the one difference, I'm really not into salesmanship, but I'll just say, where we thrive is understanding people, their personalities, frankly, what they're really good at, and sometimes what they suck at, and where they need help. And I don't think anyone else does it to that degree. Like, hey, I know you're in pain, you're short this. Typically, it's a pain issue for you, and you might react in a poor manner, meaning overtrade or cover at the top, and we get involved in ways that other people don't. Because to me, picking the stocks is truly the easy part. How to manage them, whether it be winners or losers, that makes all the difference in the world. And we actually get involved in that. And that's what drives those insane. I'm not going to pretend everyone has those, but you don't get gains like that without understanding. Like the fellow you put up first, Craig Mira, I know for years. Wonderful, humble, awesome guy. He was a big scalper, right? Throw on 10,000 Apple, trade it for $1, back and forth. And I said, you could make a whole different life for yourself if you become less scalper, more of a swing trader. And that's how those numbers get done. So I think getting to understand people and what they're about and what their pain issues are, and like I said, where they thrive and they should kind of focus on, that's probably our advantage. Or even how to deal with a day like today, right? Most people in the room, honestly, were set up for a day like today. And so I'm not going to pretend most people were up today. Market NASDAQ was down 200-300. So I always say, like, if I'm worth anything, it's when the market's not so easy.
I will say
that's our difference.
I hear feedback. I've seen so much feedback from the room, multiple days being, I think back to April and when the market melted down and you guys had some of your best days when a lot of people were having some of their worst days.
There are people that made their year by the end of it.
All right, let's go through what's been happening since our last webinar back in June. So we're going to go through our recent highlights. So we're going to focus on the themes that Inner Circle has been trading. We're going to talk a little bit about David's game plan from here. There's some important stuff coming up tomorrow, and why you need David's guidance in your own trading. It's important to remember that not every idea works. Inner Circle does, of course, have losers. Traders have losers, but we get rid of them fast. And it's about managing trades. And, as you'll hear David say many times, if you join the room, you got to hit your singles and your doubles, not always a home run. But those singles and those doubles, they add up over time for really big gains. All right. So first, it was a crypto summer inside the Inner Circle. And so we're going to talk about that theme first. All right. So let's remember back to June 18th. This was like right after our last webinar. So everyone who joined then got in on this. The Senate passed that Crypto-Friendly Genius Act, which is a Stablecoin Act. Coin calls for you and Kira and Rick. You guys had all bought coin calls on June 17th, and those skyrocketed 124% overnight. So that was just one aspect there. Coin continued, though, to move higher over the next week. So you guys had even more calls. You and Kira both bought weekly calls again later the next week, and those went from 12.50 to 25 overnight. Another 100% gain overnight as that coin rally continued. Anything you want to add on the coin moves when it came to the stable coin news? And
I think everyone knows to really ride these wild waves. You have to understand what theme is prevalent at what time and how best to ride them. Pick your horse, right? And that time, a lot of people were obviously looking at Circle, which was the superstar IPO, off the whole stablecoin theme. And then we really looked at Coinbase and realized they might be making more money off stablecoin than Circle itself. And it became a big focus. And I think what was best about it is we hung in there and wrote it for, I don't know, like I think we had stock too for like 100, 150 points. It was a big win, but it was about recognizing that it wasn't just about Circle, that Circle might affect many other names in the space. And yeah, it was a big win for us.
Yeah, and right. So as everyone else was focused on Circle, Kathy Wood, later in the month, June 24th, she started dumping Circle, and you guys bought puts that went from $9 to $14.70 in, again, just an overnight move. You bought these late in the day on the 23rd, and by the next morning, they were up $15 later the next day. So you caught, obviously the rally in the crypto space when it came to the stablecoin news, but then also these kind of dumps. So you're not scared to
Circle
be.
became like a focus on the short side where we said, this is the bubble. Now, will we catch the absolute top? No, but I'm not young, as you can see. And I've made a living, literally my career, off shorting bubbles. SMCI, Tilray, maybe some of them you'll talk about. And Circle was one where we're like, okay, this game, we're not going to get the exact top, but as long as we're within 20 points, there's 100 points or more to the downside. So as we were long coin, Circle definitely became a focus to the short side.
Definitely. All right. And then again, back to coin, your levels were really spot on. This day, you called out 295 as being the focus for you from the morning call. And as you can see, adding on August 6th, at 10:30 in the morning, you were out by half of it by 12:30, up 295 to 303. And it's just a look at how David's levels that he gives the inner circle, the room every single morning, how those tend to be, I must say, very spot on. I mean, you'll catch the bottom and the top, and like great at catching levels when it comes to things that are in focus for you. All right, and then so that's the stable coin news, the stable coin rally we had with Coin, Circle, all of that. But as Ethereum was rallying over this past few months, you've been focused on BMNR. That's Bit, Mine, Immersion. What's the other? What's the next word? Bitmine. So you believed in the jockeys that were behind BMNR, saying, Peter Thiel. Who was it? Who are the jockeys?
Yeah, Bill Miller's son. You had Peter Thiel. You had Druckenmiller with a small piece, and Tom Lee is the face of it.
Tom Lee. Yeah. All right. So the big BMNR trade, you guys have obviously been active in BMNR since this, you were trading it today. But the big trade for the inner circle was you were long from $31 back on August 1st, all in up to 70 on the 11th. So over a 10-day period, you of course were trimming and trailing on the way up to that 70, but you 31 to 70, that's quite a move on. This is a stock. This is not an option.
Like 3 days. It was insane. I never thought it would be in 3 days. It was a total insane.
Right. And that message there from the room saying, thanks for BMNR. I bought a few thousand shares with you back on August 1st, was on an offshore tuna trip for 7 days and didn't have service, just got back. Wow. That was a nice surprise. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So just a nice surprise there for the subscriber to Inner Circle as they did. And then as you can see, messages here from the room, BMNR made my month. I made over 90K in profits trading on 5 to 6 key ideas this week. BMNR made my year. BMNR in 1 day paid for my year here. The room has me looking at stocks that I would not have normally. And then after a huge run higher, you guys got out of that trade, and then you had to refocus your levels when it came to BMNR and say, okay, now we have to look at this at $70 with a different lens. We're not trying to buy this at $31 anymore. So you gave the room new levels. You looked at the chart and figured it out. And under 60 were the levels that you called out in the AM call. And you can see this trade here, $57.50 to $63 in a matter of less than an hour. Because again, those levels there from the morning call. So for everyone who's with us, just a kind of a briefing on how the room works and how these trades happen.
Can I
David
say
gives
one
the
thing?
room. Yeah,
I think
You
it'd
go
be
for it.
helpful. So one thing we do that really helps some of those crazy percentages you see is not really like, oh, here's XYZ at this price. Let's call it ABC because XYZ is a real company now. And here's our exit. And then we're done, right? Because there's what we call cash flow trades and then there's swing trades. And most definitely BMNR, specifically because of the team behind it. And I thought Ethereum was a great catch-up play to Bitcoin, was a core focus as I had a sizable position, 31. But thereafter, just because it tops out, we don't walk away from it. We realize as it finds a pullback level that's comfortable, there'll be great cash flow to be made. So we'll keep going back to these names. We won't go back in the same size till we feel they really finds a level to hold. And we'll often make a ton of cash flow that for especially short-term traders can make their year just by trading around. I traded BMNR for several points today, in fact. So I think it's important just to say, we're not just swing, we're not certainly day traders, but we will trade around a core and increase our performance on the same stock. So if let's call it ABC again, ABC goes to 30 to 60, very often we will try and capture 45 points, not 30 points.
Mm-hmm.
I will always trade around a core if I think it's a healthy way to trade a stock.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And again, just for the function of how I'm showing these trades, David does a morning call in the room every day and gives members updated levels, updated analysis on all those core names that they're focused on every single morning, so that everyone, including David, can go into the day with a plan set in place. These are the levels I'm looking for. You can set alerts, whatever, however you want to manage that for yourself. So you're not just flying by the seat of your pants and buying things because, oh, it's down, so it should go up. You know, there's
The
specific
core of our
levels.
business is planning. Like everything's a plan, including in April. A lot of newer traders are taught like, don't guess, don't plan, react, and no. Do your homework, know where your focus is. If X hits this price, this is to your advantage. You don't want to be at that moment pondering whether, oh my God, I'm scared. How much do I buy? You want to know at what level you want to own it and to what degree you want to size in. And that's like how we really treat money management here, is really planning ahead of time. Well, ideas come up out of the blue, sure, but we plan as much as we can.
Yes, definitely. All right. So BMNR was the trade for Ethereum for you in the inner circle, especially when it came to Tom Lee pumping this name in Ethereum every day on Twitter, CNBC, etc. It was quite the move that we saw, but can't last forever. Ethereum did pull back in August, and you saw that Ethereum pull back as a buying opportunity for BMNR. You told the inner circle, Ethereum's going to pull back here. This is our chance to get a good price on BMNR. And again, in the morning call, giving out specific levels. And as you can see here, a quick trade intraday, 53.40 to 57.20. And you got to say a 4-point move on a name like that. It's not something to just to laugh at. So again, those levels being key, and knowing that a pullback in Ethereum doesn't just mean we get out of everything Ethereum related. We look for the buying opportunities when they are there. All right, after Ethereum, it was time for Solana. So you told me on a live stream that all markets follow the same pattern. So, we had Bitcoin, then we got Ethereum, then it was time for Solana. On September 15th, Galaxy Digital bought a big old stake in Solana, and that helped kick off the run for Solana.
Fairness, we own SOLT. The highest we own it, I think, was from 2250 to 20. Just saying. It looks good, but we actually own it from lower than 24. I'll shut up.
Yeah. Yes. That was just, I could only fit so many days in a chart. And so I went back to your most recent ad when I was making that chart. But why was SOLT why is that how you chose to trade Solana and not another way?
So I always say everything I do, every stock I pick, every price target I come up with, it's all based on the climate. And the climate has been a catch-up trade climate for about 60 to 90 days. In fact, one of my better trades No clue if we'll go over it. This year was AMD as a catch-up trade to NVIDIA, where I said, I really don't like NVIDIA here. Risk reward, I love the company and I think it goes higher, but I think more percentage gains will be made in AMD. And this is continued in different vehicles. So I was like, okay, well, Bitcoin led, then we had Ethereum. If the progression continues like we always see, Solana's next. And then you have treasury companies being built around it. So as long as you're not late, I thought this could be a very fast move. The chart looked right. And how can we capture it and kind of intensify our gains? And that was through an ultra SOL.
All right. And again, so that was the crypto summer inside Inner Circle. Again, our big trades being Coin, Circle, BM&R, SOLT, other trades involved, of course, throughout the summer as well, and still active in many of these names, as David mentioned, trading BM&R today. Multiple trades in BM&R today, if I remember from the alerts. So very active in those names. The other major theme of the summer, besides it being crypto, was AI. Of course, AI being the major theme for the market as a whole, continuing throughout this summer. And the Inner Circle was, of course, involved. But as David mentioned, it wasn't about NVIDIA. For him, it was more about AMD this summer. So you bought AMD around 120 back on June 12th, which was the day after our last webinar here. So all the new members got in on that trade with you, and you held all the way. You were holding all the way till July 10th and longer, but this chart here shows the move 120 to 144. And like you said, on a live stream with me, you told everyone AMD is the better risk reward trade for the AI space than NVIDIA right now. Why was AMD the pick for you this summer after what we'd seen with NVIDIA from April to June?
So no one's on this webcast and thinks I'm a complete idiot. We all know NVIDIA was cheaper as a multiple for a while. We all know it's a better run company and certainly owns this space. But I was simply looking at risk reward, and NVIDIA had already bounced huge, and we'd already been in it, right? We bought NVIDIA during the April swoon, 93.86. And as it got to about 135, 140, I'm looking at the market, and I'm thinking, okay, if you want to buy more NVIDIA up here, the stock's already up 60, 70%. What's left? And I said, okay, AMD just had insider buying. You have an increased buyback. You actually just had a quarter that was the first quarter that wasn't a disappointment in quite some time. If they only get a little bit of market share, this is a big enough market, and people believe they're finally putting the pieces together after being as high as 220 about a year ago, this has plenty of room to play catch up. And I saw that catch up theme going through the market, right? So I thought, well, everyone knows AMD is the ultimate catch up trade to NVIDIA. We had Broadcom and that went, but there was AMD left. So I just looked at it and thought, NVIDIA, after being up over 50% from those April lows, it might just stay a bit stagnant. It might continue higher if the theme continues higher. But what hasn't moved yet that has some insider buying, that has an increased buyback, that probably has less downside near term and more percentage gain upside. So for over the next 60 days, if you look longer term, it doesn't look like it, but if you look over the next 60 days, AMD killed NVIDIA's returns, right? Like AMD went up like 50%, while NVIDIA went up like 30%. So it just ultimately was all about being a better risk reward, not company or anything. But by the way, the other reason is AMD finally, if you're old like me, you know AMD always trades at 70, 100, 150 times. It hasn't been cheap since it was a $5 stock. It just doesn't trade at a fair multiple. All of a sudden, it was trading at a multiple that made sense, right? It was like 25 to 35 times or something, and you could kind of get behind it and say, okay, if this market's going to keep going higher, there's no way they're taking NVIDIA higher every day, and CoreWeave's going on, and they're not buying AMD. It's got to play catch up. It's only logical. So that was the trick.
All right. And of course, with this NVIDIA or AMD trade, you weren't just holding and waiting. Along the way, you were taking profits as headlines hit for your position there. Will asking, how did you play in AMD pure stock or via options? I think you did just pure equities.
So long ago, I can tell you that I'm 80% stock, right? but I'm not short of capital, so I'm always going to stock, and I will do option at least once a day. I'm in an option. But what we do is there are people on the chat that are not running 7-figure books and maybe don't want to lock up too much capital. So we'll discuss how can they play the same idea with the underlying options. So I will tell you, probably 100 people own the options and not the stock. I myself might have been all stock.
Right. So again, just taking profits along the way. You're of course managing your positions as you hold onto a core. But this news hit on the day you went long. Oracle and AMD collaborating to help customers deliver breakthrough performance for large-scale AI and agentic workloads. So that was a nice headline there for that AMD call. All right, we're going to talk about multiple different Apple trades, but we're going to focus here on the AI theme when it came to Apple. You had gone long in these Lotto calls on a Friday. Lotto Fridays are a thing in the inner circle. They're fun. They can be really awesome days for the inner circle, and this was definitely one of them. You bought the Lotto calls that morning or that afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern time, and by 12 minutes later, they went from $2 to $4. It's a 100% gain in 12 minutes. So we get to look at how some Lotto Fridays can go in the room, because you have
touch on Lotto Fridays. A lot of people just throw money, like it's a lotto and they throw money up. More often than not, we actually, I have no problem saying this, we win on lottos, because we don't just throw, it's not like, oh, it's Friday, let's do a lot. It's, hey, it's
you
Friday.
In your morning call on Fridays will have a plan for a lotto.
Basically, the way I see it, especially for accounts that aren't super large accounts, can really move the needle, is if you really have an edge with an idea you truly believe in, and it's a Friday and you don't have to pay the same premiums and options. It's a way to really take a minimal amount of risk, know your max downside, and really change your account. So I will say Lotto Fridays are a big deal for what we do, because we've had, I had SMCI on a Friday short in size via the stock and puts that literally, no exaggeration, went to 258. I, like an idiot, I don't know if I sold them at 50 or 70, but they went to 150 that day. It was a Friday, a Lotto Friday. And lots of people changed their lives that day. So my point is, it's not just like a gambling day. It's a well thought out way to intensify your returns without taking tremendous risk.
Yeah, definitely. So again, this headline on that Friday really paid off for those Lotto calls. You caught the bottom and top on TEM, Tempest AI, with a plan from, again, the AM call. I remember, I write the posts for this, and so I remember posting this, and you and I had talked. This was a market that just nothing could go down. Nothing was ever going down. Everything was higher. You were having to buy higher, paying trades, buying higher. But Tempest AI gave you that chance, drop down to that key level that you had called out in the morning call, and a nice trade for the room there on a Friday as well. You bought CoreWeave back in July after a 5-day pullback. So we'd, of course, seen the rally in CoreWeave and then a lot of downside in CoreWeave. And then it was finally time to get long again in July, at the end there of July. I think I have some more CoreWeave. Yep. And then post earnings on CoreWeave, you and the inner circle were active in the name. Some of the best trading.
That was post market. Yeah, that wasn't during market.
Right, after earnings. Some of the very best trading that you in the room, you do with the room, is your real-time guidance on earnings after hours. You guys are very active during earnings season in the after hours session, and you're able to catch those big parabolic moves that happen really fast, and then the whole story could change in 20 minutes. But that's because of the real-time guidance that you're providing to members in the room there. And this is a 6-point move lower, but of course it kept going lower. 5% though in 2 minutes for you, and then many others in the room, I'm sure, held longer. As you see the feedback there, great trade on CoreWeave. What a move! Thank you. Do you want to talk any more about the guidance you provide for the room when it comes to earnings season after the market? close?
Sure. Again, it's not really gambling. So ahead, I really have, hey, these are the markers we have to hit, right? Either it's gross margins, or this story is all about revenue, or this story is about their Asia business, or it's all data center. So we kind of know what's the important part of the earnings report. And if I hear it and see it and the number is too weak, not good enough, and I feel there's an edge, like the stock should be much higher, the stock should be much lower, we will attack it, right? Whether it's to the long or short side. We've had monstrous gains from stocks like Tesla back when the stock was crushed. I remember gross margins was the key number. I was waiting for it. It hit, and we bought the stock pre-market after hours, like I think it was 222. This is months or years ago. I don't remember when. But we knew that gross margin number had to hit, and it was way better, and the stock wasn't moving. I'm like, guys, this should be at $30. And it was up like 5 or 10, and we bought it. So a lot of it is just the homework ahead of time. And then I'll often say, I got no edge here. There's nothing to do for me. I'm not doing anything after hours. So if there's an edge and the stock isn't reacting the way I think it should, we'll take advantage. Meta,
Yeah.
Tesla, there's been a million.
There has been a lot of them, but I will say your insight onto what number, there's a lot of numbers that come out in an earnings report, and David really has a great read on what number actually matters for that stock at that time based on how it's moved into the report, etc. So great to have his guidance on an earnings play. And then this was just last Lotto Friday, and we had CoreWeave calls that were up 210% in 8 minutes, $2 to $6.20. So you can see 9:31 to 9:39 a.m. That was a good way to start a Lotto Friday for the room. And you can see the feedback here from the room, 225%, sick Lotto there. That was so sick on CoreWeave. Awesome CoreWeave Lottos, $1.10 to $4.70. Thank you. I remember posting this on Twitter and saying, as the room says, it's a sick way to start a Friday, and it was for sure. All right, again, spot on levels from the AM call, just showing that again, to be able to buy NBIS, Nebius Group, on a pullback, $88 to $98 intraday earlier this month. I mean, again, these are not options plays, these are stock plays to get a move.
Tons of people do buy the options again, underlying.
Right, and get even more. But to get a 10-point move on stock, I mean, that's a huge move on a name like NBIS. And then up 20% more on NBIS on a swing later this month. So this was last week. So again, let me just look. 9th. Yeah, so you bought it again on the 17th and held it all the way to the 22nd. Yeah. Again, another 18-point move on NBIS there. So you've had your focus names of the summer. Again, we've talked BM&R, CoreWeave. Oh goodness, NBIS, etc.
I'm just asking. One of our better trades this past summer was the CoreWeave lockup. I have no clue if you have that set up. Do you?
I might not. Okay. But you could talk about it.
What'd you say?
I don't think so. I don't think I have a chart.
We move on.
All right. And then Intel has been in focus, of course, over the past couple of weeks. Over the past month, we first, got the government investment, the 10% stake. Didn't move much, but then we got the NVIDIA investment, the $5 billion investment from NVIDIA. And of course, the name exploded off from there. You told the room, guys, wait, there will be a pullback. We will have places to buy after this reaction. So let's wait and see what happens. And you gave them under 29 as being your key level to get involved with Intel. We had a 5% move the next day. And then I know you have flat this position.
Yeah, I'm a little sad about that one. I was like, this is Intel. I'm up 5%. This is not MBIS. And then today, and it kept going. But it was a big win for, considering it's Intel. And then today, it kept going. I wanted my stock back. This one, I definitely took profits too.
All right. I am seeing some questions about the room in our chat. Everyone asked those, and we will make sure to get to those here at the end of our stream here after we go through some of the highlights. But we will answer all your questions about how the room works, etc. So make sure to ask them. All right. Another theme for the Inner Circle. So we've covered crypto summer and AI. another theme that you've been extremely focused on this summer is housing, especially specifically the home building stocks. And we got a dovish Powell at Jackson Hole. You can see the headline there. Jerome Powell just told investors exactly what they wanted to hear at Jackson Hole. You went into Jackson Hole long Rocket and Nail. Now, Rocket for you hasn't just been a quick trade. It's really become one of your favorite investments over this summer. But we got that huge green candle morning of Jackson Hole after the market heard from Jerome Powell. Basically, we don't care about inflation. It's changed since then. But back then, they didn't care about inflation. So Rocket, of course, exploding on that headline, and Nail also gapping up during that speech as well. A 10-point move there on Nail when it came to the Fed chair's speech. But when it comes to Rocket, like I mentioned, one of your favorite investments of the summer. Talk why you believe in this company and why it's become such a focus for you and the room this summer.
So back when it was $11 to $13, they were making 2 acquisitions. And basically these acquisitions were going to make it so it was the perfect one-stop shop in housing, right? Where you could kind of look for your home online. You could go out and find your broker once you look for your home. And you can get your mortgage and you can get your title, and soup to nuts, you can do everything through them. And you have the second largest mortgage provider out there, right? You have a wholesaler above them, and I just thought, God, I'm so bearish the housing market. But when it turns, and as we're getting closer to rate cuts, because everyone's been betting on rate cuts all year, and we didn't get it, right? I'm like, now I truly believe we're going to start to get them. The closer we get, the more you have to look at housing, and the stocks themselves will represent a more buoyant housing market 6 months down the road. So we're not going to see it from the companies or their earnings. They're just going to start to work their way higher as people see future rate cuts, because it's such a rate dependent game, right? So you don't have to be very smart and go through balance sheets. You need lower rates for housing to work. It's really quite basic. So I thought, God, when it works, these guys have now made themselves a one-stop shop to kill it in the housing market when there is a turn. And sure enough, over the next couple of years, there probably will be one. And I don't know when it is. I'm pretty darn bearish housing. Like if I was flipping houses, I'd be like, hold up. But the stocks don't follow that trajectory, right? It's a little bit more nuanced. So I just thought, I got to own. This has to be my one baby. It's just too well set up for when the bull market occurs. And I thought, if it takes 6 months or if it takes 6 weeks, I don't really care. The upside is going to be that great in it. I have to own. Not to mention, the management team. The guy's a rock star, so I've always just, family is as good as they get. So I was excited.
Yeah. All right. And it was quite a call. You were back focused on the home builders this week when it came after the Fed chair kind of put cold water in everyone's, we don't care about inflation at the last Fed meeting. These rate sensitive stocks definitely saw a pullback, and you told the room, my focus is DR Horton, DHI. And you had given specific levels and you'd really prepared for this trade. And this week we got to those levels, and this trade continued higher the next day.
From at 68 yesterday.
But I mean, you bought it on, so what was this, Tuesday at 3:00, and by 50 minutes later you were trimming a third up, $3. Not a bad trade at the very end of the day on a Tuesday, but of course it's continued to move higher again. But it's just another planned out trade that came into the levels that David was monitoring for himself and the room.
If I can touch on this, last Friday and Thursday, I said, okay, there's a lot of fluff going on in the market. I'm not that comfortable. Here's where I'm looking next week. If we get closer to the 50-day on DR Horton, we see XHB and the entire space come in. Now that everyone's like, oh, Jerome Powell's not quite as dovish as we thought, it'll actually be time to buy these. So again, it goes to that whole, usually my best ideas, me 99% of the time, if I'm talking about something 2 or 3 days ahead of it, and then it gets to a level I've been talking about, that's my bread and butter. And that's one of them.
Plan. So you can just execute and not have to question yourself. That's David's bread and butter. All right, let's go through some other quick summer highlights. Back on August 6th, you said to the room in the morning, before it came out, you said, there was this rumored news. There was rumored news to be happening at the White House later that day, a big Rose Garden announcement. And you said to the room, perhaps the big news at the White House today will be Apple related. And then I think like 10 minutes later, Kevin Hassett went on Fox Business and announced and confirmed that, yes, there was going to be a big $100 billion new investment pledge from Apple. So you and Rick and Kira were all long Apple right off the open that morning after those comments from Hassett and your own prediction. So you were long stock. This trade, 207 to 213, but you held your trailer, as we see. So you went long, got down to a trailer later in the morning, and you held that, and we got to move all the way from 207 to 225. And I remember, I think you and I did a lot. I'm not going to remember what day of the week August 6th was. Let's see, August 6th was the Wednesday. So then on the 7th, the next day, you and I did a live stream like we do Thursdays in the mornings. And you said, or morning for me, afternoon for the East Coast, but you said, hey guys, everyone bought Apple yesterday and is excited about Apple, but it's not done. Like the move is not done. There's still more to go. And you were right. And you held this position all the way through Friday. And as you can see, you get you can win more on your trailer sometimes than those original trims that you do at the beginning. But you got to lock in some profits along the way. And then another great call for the room and yourself was United Health. You went long the Lotto calls on a Friday morning right off the
Was that a Lotto? Cool.
Yeah, this was another Lotto Friday. And those calls surged 216%. I put overnight there, but sorry, in 10 minutes. 10 minutes after we had Thursday night, we got the announcement from from Berkshire Hathaway. They had invested in United Health. And so you bought Lottos off the open the next morning. And in 10 minutes, you were down to a trailer up 260 to 820. So again, Lotto Fridays, they're planned. You went into this day with a plan, but you bought them and they worked out. And this is a screenshot from a tweet we showed this gentleman earlier as well, but the guy doesn't stop. Speaking about you, he was still in the group with us at 7 p.m. last night, making after hours trades and guiding, answering questions. This morning, he had more great calls than I can count. And this was August 15th. BM&R, MBIS, Palantir, UNH, Tempest, Circle, CoreWeave were the ones I made money on. 15% of my total account. That's substantial. So August 15th was a really good day for the room when it came to calls like that. And then this was a more recent trade back August 20th. We'd all seen Palantir go all summer. It felt like Palantir could never go down. The pain trade of the summer was trying to short Palantir. And then finally Palantir did pull back and you in the room got long. And you were long from 143 to 150. And the feedback from the room was they might not have been able to hold on to that trade if it weren't for you and your conviction and your guidance throughout it, saying wouldn't be able to hold if not for your conviction. Without you, I would have given up on it at the lows. Learned so much on Palantir because you did buy and it did keep pulling back a little more before exploding higher. Yeah, talk about it.
So, especially for people who I'm never going to talk to again and are learning, we didn't know the exact low in Palantir. Some of these I don't remember because I trade so many stocks. This one I remember. Palantir had broken down from highs and it was kind of crashing, broke 150. And there was a level well beneath 140. It's like 130 or 132. I can't remember anymore. It's probably the 100 day or something. And where we thrive is, hey, this is potentially where we can go. We're not buying one shot and just hoping we're getting the bottom. We're buying in tranches. This is our perceived risk, maximum risk, where it can go. And even if we're a few points early, because too many traders can't be down $3, right? Mm-hmm. Especially all the new people don't know what they're doing. They're just used to things going up. And the minute they're down 3 or 4, and they're out. right? I usually want to be down after my first buy on something like Palantir, $2, $3. In this, I ended up being down, like I think my very first buy was 150, and then it just kept going. Where we thrive is, hey, we planned for this. Don't have a heart attack. You're not huge in your size. This is what we planned that could happen. Now it's time to double up. If the trade's good, we don't just double up because we're down. We double up because we planned for this possibility. So very often where I see people freaking out and getting out at lows or covering at highs, it's because we thought about what's the worst case scenario, which I think we really thrive on, rather than there's so many people out there who refuse to buy in halves. They just want to buy it or short it and be right. It doesn't work that way. I wish it did. So we kind of thrive on buying in halves or buying in thirds, and certainly selling in halves or thirds. And this, I think, helped a lot of people, because there were some people who were freaking out. And I said, okay, this is what I perceive. This is what I think is going to happen. And frankly, as long as you don't get too big, take a deep breath, you'll probably be very happy. And obviously bounce.
I have heard you say so many times to the room, I'm buying this here. I am expecting it to go lower. I will buy more if it goes lower. But sometimes that buy where you're expecting it to go lower ends up being the bottom. So yeah. You always say you'd rather start a little early than miss the trade.
And in this great bull market, there's so many stocks you can wait, and they never get to your level, and then they bounce 20 points, and you're out of luck. So.
Yep. All right. And then my final highlight of the summer here is Robinhood. What a call this was. Of course, you and the whole market have been waiting for Robinhood to be added to the S&P 500. And on this Friday, was that September 5th, you said, I don't know if today's the day that it's going to get added, but I just have a feeling that tonight might be the night. So I'm going to buy some calls. You and Kira both bought some calls. And then after the market closed, we got the announcement that Robinhood and AppLovin were added to the S&P 500. And of course, they skyrocketed from there. Your calls that you bought on Friday were up 300% at the open on Monday. They ran more. But you took your money and you ran. You said 300% is good enough for me.
I was also long the stock, so I felt
right. So again, when we're not just trading options in this room, we're trading stock and equities. So options and equities. So a lot of times options are just adding some alpha to a trade for you. So that's why you were able to say, I'm done at 300%. I'll hold on to my stock from here. All right, real quickly, let's go through some. Oh, good. So again, you saw how the Inner Circle nailed crypto summer, the AI theme, housing plays, and more throughout this summer rally that we've had in the past few months. We'll go through some really quick iconic trades from the room. We won't go into really big detail on these, but these are just some of the best trades we've seen in recent years in the room. Kira had a nice big trade on MicroStrategy, puts exploding 667% overnight as Bitcoin plunged. That was back in February of this year. Rick's RH puts Restoration Hardware, 1,500% winner after earnings overnight. And people often are asking Rick, when's your next RH puts trade? Because this was just quite a call on earnings for him. Tesla puts were up 600% as the Musk versus Trump drama exploded for Rick, but also many others in the room. As you can see there from the screenshot saying that trade made my quarter. David, you were early on TEM. We've talked about TEM already and how you've been navigating it this summer. But back in January, before Nancy Pelosi was buying Tempest AI, you were buying Tempest under $50 in late January of this year. And you can see the feedback from members. Caught this one mainly because of you. I just wanted to say thank you to David for an epic call on TEM. You were pounding the table long before anyone else, before Nancy. And then the SMCI saga, or the life maker for many Inner Circle members. You went long stock back on January 19th, 2024. SMCI had released that early guiding up on the 18th, and you said, buy, it's time to buy. You were long around $340. And you told me This could hit 400 in the next few days. It's like a little, but we were at 400 an hour and a half later. So quite a call there. And then, like you mentioned, it wasn't just long stock. You were also on the short side of this name as well. And these are the puts you were talking about earlier. You bought them in February after the big run higher. And as you can see, the feedback here, 75 cents to $10 is one of those just insane moves on puts when it came to SMCI. So David, real quickly, we'll kind of get your outlook for the fall here. We've had an amazing summer when it comes to Inner Circle and the market as a whole. We've had a couple days down here leading into this. They say sell Rosh Hashanah, buy Yom Kippur, right? That's the saying. And typically September being a weak month, not the beginning of September, but definitely kind of here at the end. So what do you see here for fall 2025 when it comes to this market?
So with the insanity going on, started to plan last week for a down week this week. I have been what I call a little bit concerned about the market, about maybe a bit bearish, the indices, but very aggressive on individual equities up till Monday of this week. Meaning TEM, we bought inside at 61, 62 a few weeks ago, MBIS 86, 88 just last week. But at the same time, really not a fan of the market, right? I saw too many sells. And too many people on here know them, so we're not going to bore them, but you put them together. We have our Fed chairman kind of walking back some of the dovishness, going from we're focused on jobs, less inflation, to actually it's a bit more equal to quantum stocks going insane without revenue and nuclear stocks. And you saw NVIDIA and some of the round trip business we see via NVIDIA. In other words, all these stocks working because NVIDIA is buying a piece of them, and then they're getting orders from the company they're buying a piece of. And you just had the makings for at least a pullback. And then seasonality worked out. So I said, listen, I've been kind of planning for a pullback at some point, but if there's ever a time for seasonality to work, it's sell Rosh Hashanah, buy Yom Kippur. So I actually been short the Qs up till yesterday all week, thinking that this is, it's time. And I told everyone, I said, if you want to hold MP with me and MBIS and all these stocks, you got to have a hedge or you got to take some profits because they were all up. So hood, there's a lot of swings we have. And I said, I don't know if it starts Monday, Tuesday, but we're there, like any day. It started. Today, we saw finally a little bit of fear. Was it much? It's like cute, 602 to 588. Insane. It's like nothing too scary. But at least loosen the market up. I think we actually can have more of this, I hope, up till next week. I think next week is Yom Kippur. Maybe it's the end of it or something, the end of next week. Let's forget that cute stuff. I'm just looking maybe to get closer to the 21-day. We're about 4 or 5 points away today on Qs, on SPY. We were almost there. And maybe ultimately, even some back and forth action in October that gets us, 6, 7, 8% off highs. That's my idea. I don't know if we'll get there. I'd love that. And then end of October, November, there is so much money that has been betting against the market for the entire year. People trying to call tops, saying this is insane, NVIDIA is a joke, and all this is, insanity. And all those people are either losing their jobs, behind, and need to invest. So I still think, even though the market's overpriced, the S&P PE is at historical records, the Buffett indicator is highest it's ever been, I still think people are going to have to play catch up, and we'll probably have a good end of the year if I'm right and it's messy for the next 2-3 weeks. I fear for people looking at the SPY, the Qs, IWM today and thinking they're going to make 20 or 30% over the next 12 months. That I'd be concerned with. So I'm making 20, 30, 40, 50, 100% in individual equities, but the indices here, going to be, in my opinion, the next 12 months, I wouldn't say there's a great setup. You'll really need to see a pullback. Will it happen? I don't know. But God knows, if I was first investing and buying the Qs here today, I'd leave a little room for a pullback.
All right. Can you still hear me fine?
Yeah, you can't hear me that well?
No, I can hear you, but my headphones died. So I'm on a different microphone now, just to make sure it worked. All right. So for everyone, again, just pop your questions into the chat. If you have any, I have a lineup of some to go through. Again, we do, of course, not guarantee any success with our service here. Can't guarantee that. But real good teacher in David there, and a good guider can guide you through trades really well when it comes to managing your book. All right, so we want to talk about how you can join Inner Circle. Typically, an application is required to join this room, but we are waiving it for attendees of this event. And when it comes to waiving that application, there are some rules that I want to lay down for everyone when it comes to joining. So what you get when you join, you get live trading room access with stock and options ideas. Remember, all those trades I just showed, those are not just stock, not just options, a mix of both. Get access to David Prince, Kira Turner, and Kira Barr, apologies to Kira, and Rick March. Longer term ideas like Amazon, Immunome, and Rocket. Short-term plays and names like we covered, BM&R, CoreWeave, TEM. Real-time analysis of earnings, Fed decisions, economic data, etc. We're getting more economic data tomorrow. A big important number comes out tomorrow morning at 8:30. Good time to get in the room. And then, of course, access to a community of some of the smartest traders that you will ever meet. This is what people have told us that they love about the Inner Circle. They focus on A+ ideas with the right risk reward, focus on smart money management. David prevents traders from making mistakes. The team is crystal clear about their ideas and opinions. And there's a little bit of fun that happens in the room. Laugh, we learn, we earn. We do it all together as a community. Who typically joins the room? Inner Circle includes members from all around the world, but they can range from all of these different groups: pro traders, entrepreneurs, hedge fund managers, venture capitalists, family office heads, medical doctors, corporate executives, attorneys, professional poker players, and more. Again, we have our share of laughs, but we are serious about idea generation and making money. So if you're still learning the basics, this is not a room for you. You won't benefit, and neither will the ecosystem of the room. So what you need to know before you see our offer here, Inner Circle is not for beginners. Those with sub $100,000 accounts are cowboys looking to gamble. Again, not a room for beginners. You have to have experience to be able to take advantage of the trades that David and the room are putting on. If you join, so these are my rules for everyone who joins here with our offer. And all of our webinar buyers are typically really good at following my rules here. So sit back and observe for a few days and then start interacting. You want to focus on ideas, avoid random chatter, don't ask any simple questions that you can Google, and be friendly. Again, it keeps.
Can I touch upon this? Because I think it'll help people.
Yeah.
So you've got guys running real money, fund managers, so on, and we're not cowboys, right? So when we short a stock, we know all the sayings, like, oh, the stock can go higher more than your liquid, and don't try and call a top. And occasionally we'll do these. We get a new guy who wants to impress us and be smart. No one here, the people that make money, even the fund managers, they don't care about being smart. They care about making money and doing it the right way. So example is we've been focused on shorting Oklo and RGTI the past couple of days. Now, your typical retail traders don't do these and so on. We don't focus on it till it's time, right? Oklo made some like months today. That was a sick trade by a lot on the chat. Often we'll get a new person and they'll just start, hey, why are you trying to call us the top? Or it'll be something else. My point is, we like you to get to understand what we do. Sorry about the dog. What we're good at, our core competency. Get some understanding that you're not dealing with like new players in the game, and then you can mouth off about whatever you want. But I always find sometimes people want to impress upon us what they know. I don't care if you think I'm smart. I just want to make money. I want you to make money. I want to prevent downside for you. And sometimes it's better to hear rather than just start talking. And sometimes we get those talkers. So I just thought I'd explain that's why those exist. It's so everyone is not annoyed, and we get a good feel. And then we get to know you, and a lot of these people are my dear friends after you. So it's not like we don't want you to talk.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So this has worked out really well for webinar buyers in the past. So just everyone take my instruction. Sit back, watch for like a week. Get to really know how the room works. Because that's going to help you also take advantage of the trades when it comes to your own account. So what is it all about? Hunter says it best every day, every week. DP guides the inner circle on where to be, where not to be, and how to size right in big moments. Every week, like a month, I needed 6 names. So again, you can see just trading on those core ideas from David can give you some of your best weeks and months when it comes to your trading. David, of course, will admit when he's wrong, and he'll let you know, hey, I'm not right on this trade. I'm going to get out. Let's see, best traders on here show and talk about the losses and the wins. And a tweet there from David talking about something that didn't work out for him. He's honest about it in public, and he's honest about it in the room as well. Again, you're not just getting ideas from David. We've mentioned them a couple times. Inner Circle does have a rock star team. Kira Barr, this is a look at some of her core weave calls that exploded 175% in just 4 hours back in June, 470 to 1290. We showed that 1500% winner from Rick earlier, but his ATNF long was 107% win in 6 hours. Just 6 hours. This is another Ethereum trade for the room. Or, you know, it's happening during like the BMNR craze. Rick was also trading here, 107% in 6 hours as 180 Life Sciences. That's what it was called back then. Skyrocket.
Great, I can't talk.
Are you still on?
Yes, see the person's talking? Sorry about that.
You if you need me to, just let me know. Again, access is limited. This offer is limited to just 25 people today. It's actually down to just 22 because we've already sold 3 of them. We have nearly 3,600 people watching here with us today, and just 22 left, everyone. So,
Right on my hair.
So Inner Circle is $7,000 per year and never discounted, but you can start today with your first month for just $800. That gives you 30 days of ideas from the team plus full community access. So again, you will get full access to the room, $800 for your first month.
You want to talk about something in between? I think it'll be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Just quickly, the community itself is far more powerful than just us. I want to make that. Like guys like Craig Mira, who spoke, has helped people make millions of dollars, right? David L has helped people literally make millions of dollars. So I want to point out, it's a real community where we know each other. There are people, guys and girls on this chat who are, excuse the expression, players in the field and really understand what the hell they're doing and manage money. So it's far bigger than us, the moderators. Sorry, I'll shut up.
No, you're good. So we, of course, for our attendees of the webinar, we're going to throw in a few bonuses. So if you start for just $800 today, you also get a year of David's Epic Trades newsletter for his top options ideas. It's a nearly $1,500 bonus included with your $800 purchase. I did not update that, but it's $800 purchase today. So look at a recent win from the Epic Trades newsletter. CoreWeave calls were a 62% winner in just 2 hours. You were buying stock and then buying calls for the newsletter while you were buying stock in the room on this trade. And Circle calls were an 80% winner overnight back in July. So it's an early July trade. Bonus time number 2, with that Epic Trades membership, you get recorded coaching sessions with Rick March. So you can learn some things from him, how he finds Fibonacci levels on charts, how he does his charts. And when you join the Inner Circle, you'll see Rick is the chart guy in the room, and he posts charts in the morning and also throughout the day. And you'll learn his 4 pillars to make a great trader through those recorded coaching sessions. And then our final bonus is that you, as a buyer today, will get a live Q&A session with David next week, next Wednesday, October 1st. You can ask all of the questions you want then about the current market, position sizing, how to use his ideas, and more. So remember earlier I said, if you sit back and watch for a week, this next Wednesday will be your opportunity to ask David all your silly questions. You can come to that, and that is his time to answer the simple questions you might have, so you can really use the room. So throughout the next week, as questions are coming up for you on position sizing, or how to follow him on a trade, write those down, and then my goodness.
Yeah, I look really out of focus. Is that me?
No, that was me. I bumped my desk, and I don't know how that happened. Okay, anyway. So
Look at someone put Vaseline over me.
the live Q&A session will be your chance to get all of your questions answered from David himself. We got a question earlier. Somebody asked if they join SS. So if you join, can you ask David questions using your voice audio? Not quite, because we're going to host this live session through StreamYard like our webinar is today, but you can type them all and I will ask him. I'll help facilitate this question and answer session so it can flow good. But yeah, that's your time to ask all the questions. All right, so let's give you our offer. Some more tweets here about David. I've only been in the circle for 5 weeks. My portfolio is up over 25%, up 210% since joining in October. Game changer for me. Rick was a buyer earlier this year, and he listened to my my be quiet messages because David saw him on Twitter later and was like, oh. But he said, I've changed my approach completely. I'm gaining the tools needed to profit in any market type. I'd be lost right now without these three. And then there's a message there on the screen from Suzanne, who is a current member of the room. There really is no other trading group like the Inner Circle. It will change your life. And then Aria saying, Epic Trades 1 changed everything and I couldn't be more grateful. Thank you. All right, so here's our offer for you today. You can go to t3live.com/circle to take advantage. So this is the value, $800 for a month of Inner Circle. The Epic Trades newsletter is typically $14.97 a year. And then that bonus Q&A session with David, I got to say, is priceless. I couldn't put a price on it. Having that one-on-one coaching, it's like just that session is just for buyers today. So we have 25 buyers. Only 25 people are going to be in that. Not hundreds of us and thousands of us. Again, 3,700 people watching our live stream here today. We have just 22 spots left already. That's a $22.97 value, and you can pay $800 today to get access for the next month to the room, and you'll get, of course, that you have trades as well. So again, limited to 25 people. Once we hit 25 new members, this offer turns itself off. So you want to get in now. So why now? Well, like I mentioned a couple times, there's a big important number coming up tomorrow. That's the PCE price index. That's the Fed's favorite inflation gauge. And as we mentioned earlier, the Fed told us they do care about inflation again. So this will be the first inflation number since that Fed meeting and can be quite a market mover. Again, that's at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow. So if you join tonight, you'll be in the room tomorrow morning to see how David and the Inner Circle trade around that number. And then next week is the big jobs week. And yeah, the Fed cares about inflation, but they do also care about jobs. And so we're going to get JOLTS next week, ADP employment report, weekly jobless claims, and then the finale of the week being the September NFP on Friday. So lots of important market moving data coming up. And then results like this. My first week on here, the webinar started in 1 day. It paid for my year here. That's Mary there. And she gave us some feedback earlier as well, saying, I will say to the group here, David is spot on, and I've been amazed at his expertise in calling the market and what happens. He is the guru, and the team is too. I highly recommend Inner Circle. It's made my summer. Mary was a buyer in our last webinar. So
I'm going to blush.
So if you again want to lock in your special offer, you can go to t3live.com/circle to get that today. And I do just want to play a bit longer of a clip from Craig Mira while everyone is thinking about buying today. So Craig, in this clip, is giving kind of advice for members when it comes to joining the room and how to use it.
Yeah, so for anyone joining, it's really going to matter kind of what their skill set is. But the biggest thing for them is really just, first of all, have reasonable expectations. It's nothing you're going to figure out in a week or a month. It's going to take a little while. But that said, the way I've never been in a chat room where I've seen the moderators know so much about the people that are in the chat. I think if you really take your time and you show some gratitude, towards them, they're gonna absolutely make sure that they look out for you. But I think more than anything, you just have to listen. You have to show up. You have to read what he says to read. You have to kind of think in the way he thinks, and overthink the strategy too much. Some people just get in their own way because, you know, they'll hear him or they'll listen to him, but then they'll just go in a completely different direction. But I think if you just stick to him and his ideas of what he's doing, then I think you're going to do all right.
All right. So now we're down to just 20 spots left. You go to t3live.com/circle to, Mike's updating things. 19 spots left. So again, t3live.com/circle. Again, here's a look at the value stack there. And you're going to pay $800 today for a month of Inner Circle. You get a year of the Epic Trades newsletter, and then that live Q&A coaching session with David next week. And that's your chance again to ask all of your questions. Let's look at some of the questions that we've got about the room. Stephen asking, if do you live stream all day? How much capital is needed? So yes, David, Kira, Rick are live in the room all day. It's not a live stream, it's through our VTF platform for T3 Live, but it's a live trading room. David, should I give a look at the room like I've done the last couple times?
Sure. Good to me.
All right, now let's do that. So,
in fact, maybe it can help like show.
David, yeah, you.
I was just to say, like, we even, you know, I bought some QURE today at 47. I sold some as high as 53. Maybe you can show it on the chat because you didn't talk about it. But my point is, they'll also get a good feel for it and how we do them. So,
yeah. All right, let's see. Okay, there we go. Let me change my screen share. Stop screen. Share screen. Where is it? Here we go. Virtual training floor. All right, so this is a live look here at the room currently after the market close here. So this is what it looks like. Can you see my cursor on the? Oh, you can today. Okay, cool. So if you look here in the top left corner, this is your alerts section. So if I were to scroll through here, I'll scroll back to the morning so that you can kind of see what it looked like this morning. We came into the day and started getting alerts. So every single trade that David or Rick or Kira does, they're posting it here in the alert section as they do it.
I should really touch upon this because I haven't been in a lot of rooms. I didn't know about this world. I was just running money, and then I found out about this whole virtual world. So I learned a little bit. Here's one thing I know. Usually people just get an alert. They don't really get context as to why, how, what. So generally everything is planned out and talked about. So if I'm buying something, you know why, you know the conviction, you know if it's cute, you know if it's a swing, you know if I'm looking to take profits today or it's something I'm looking at a month out. So it's not just that, it's this, Mike, and hey, this is the plan and this is what I'm looking at. And it definitely sets us apart.
Yes, this room is where you guys will go to tomorrow morning to listen to the morning call. Like I've mentioned a bunch of times, the morning call, the AM call is David's blueprint for the day. You do it typically sometime between 8 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. Eastern.
Always, almost always.
8 a.m. Unless there's something else going on and you're waiting for a number, but you give the heads up that it'll be delayed or whatever. But 8 a.m., you want to be in the room by 8 a.m. because that's when the AM call is happening. That's when you're going to get the plan. So all of these alerts that David, Kira, and Rick are sending out throughout the day as they're buying, selling, trimming, etc., are how they're executing on that plan that was laid out ahead of time. And as David's posting, so these are the charts. Again, I said Rick is the chart guy. So those are the charts he shares in the morning for, the different names. Kira posts a recording of the morning call every day. So in case you miss it live, you can always listen back to it. That's on Dropbox. And I'll say a really nice feature on Dropbox is that it will transcribe the closed captions for you. And so if you want to also read the morning call alongside with David to just, some people like to read it and listen to it at the same time. That's a really nice feature. I use that a lot for myself, for David's levels and stuff, to go back and make sure I'm, getting them right when I'm listening to the call as well. And so, yes, here you say long Amazon, but it's not just that you're posting you bought Amazon. You're also on the mic at the same time as you're posting the alert, giving your, plan for the trade, if you want it to go lower.
Sometimes it's all about the call. So like CoreWeave last week, I said, this could happen quickly. I really feel like CoreWeave might break out. It's been kind of flagging at the same spot. If it gets through, it could be up 10 points today. So I'm going to be looking at these calls that expire today for CoreWeave right at the open. So kind of rather, because let's face it, 30 seconds can change your life in this business. So a lot of it is the plan, the mic, and then the post itself.
Yeah. But what's really nice, I will say, about your alerts is just how clear they are. People know what you're buying and when you're buying it and when you're selling it, etc. There's no question. I mean, there's a timestamp here, and that's really clear. And you guys have a format that's super clear. You, Kira, Rick, all follow that same format, so everyone knows what's happening. And then down here on the bottom left, my cursor went away. But on the bottom left is the chat. So this is where I'm moving right now. Other members of the room are sharing their trades, their ideas, their feedback, asking questions when it's appropriate. Sometimes there's some quieter moments, of course, in the market. And so those might be more appropriate times to ask questions. David sometimes will be like, hey guys, after the close, I'll do a little Q&A and people can ask their questions then. And then in the lounge is where we have a little bit of fun sometimes, the non-market related stuff. And then this trades positions tab is important. David, Rick, and Kira every morning will post what they're coming into the day with. So these are not trades that they're putting on that day. It's what they're currently holding from the day before that, etc. The core positions, like you've talked about, this is what this morning, David came into the day with BMNR, NBIS, MP, DR Horton, etc., and then traded these positions, throughout the day, added to them, bought more stuff. So tomorrow morning, that update will look different than it did today because it's whatever is coming into Friday.
But as it changes, it's always shown in the alerts.
Yeah. Everything that changed from this morning is here from today. And then tomorrow morning, this will be different. So you can see each day coming into the day with different stuff. So it's just a look at the room and kind of what it will look like tomorrow morning after you buy. We're down to just 15 spots. Again, 3,800 people watching us and just 15 spots left. So, I do want to quickly maybe play, well, let's see, what kind of questions do we have? Okay, Mikey asked, assuming we are entering a choppy/downside environment for the next few weeks, do you trade options less and trade more common stock or no change there?
That's actually a very smart question. So in choppy, slow environments, I often caution people to, let me give you an example. I bought BMNR today, right? And I told people yesterday, I said, you could get a flush to the 21-day or maybe even the 50. And people that followed me, I started like 49 and bought all the way into 47. So I said, options maybe you stay away from. Let's make sure there's a bottom. But I got pretty aggressive with stock, even late afternoon at 48, 47.90. And literally an hour later was trimming some at 49.60 with options. That can be cumbersome and difficult without fluid moves. So the answer is for periods of time, yes, and then we'll heat up and be aggressively short, or we'll find a bottom. So there's no set, right, time. There's often active and then sometimes a little bit less, but no set. Let me tell you another example, QURE. I was extremely bullish. I'm not going to bore you with why, but it's a new biotech story that has been around for years. It was a big position of mine maybe 5 years ago. Anyway, great news on Huntington. I said, this stock dips, you don't even think about it. The risk is gone. TAM is big enough, and I'm just a buyer. So today it's 47, 48. I don't care what the market's doing. I was aggressively buying the stock and very comfortable doing so. Even with a slow, choppy environment, people have bought calls on that stock today, killed it, right? So there's no one size fits all. Sometimes in choppy, slow environments, we'll do less options, but not to sound like Jim Cramer, but there's always a bull market somewhere. It is true to some degree, right? We've just had an Infuego housing move we hadn't had in a couple of years. If you look at all these stocks, we're a big part of it. Even as the market shopped at a point, those were going straight up. So yes and no, because I'm not like a tech guy. I know tech well, it's probably my biggest sector, but I am very focused on biotech. Immunome yesterday was probably our biggest win, right? The stock literally hit 1240. I think it was 8 last week. So yes, but there's still option plays frequently.
Yeah. Aaron saying, I'd strongly recommend taking them up on the offer. Easy return on investment, and the Q&A alone is worth the price. I agree with that. Getting that one-on-one Q&A with David is really worth it. All right, David, you and I talked a little bit about earnings and how active you in the group are. We're about 2.5 weeks away from the beginning of next earnings season. We just got Micron earnings. That was like the kind of the
coming up in like 3 weeks.
Banks are October 14th. A Tuesday. I guess JP Morgan is now just a Tuesday report. It used to be, it was Friday forever. I'm just so used to like banks starting on a Friday. But JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citi, Goldman, those are going to be your first big banks reporting. They're going to report October 14th. So that'll be within the month here for our buyers. You'll get the beginning of earnings season. So we'll start with the banks, and then, you know, of course, all the reports that follow after that. So when it comes to this next earnings season, of course, you guys are going to be active. What are your expectations? Like, you know, this last earnings season.
I literally say this a lot, but it is so going to be, where the hell are these stocks trading pre the print, right?
Yeah.
So many people really don't get that, especially these newer traders. They're like, Micron, numbers will be great. The stock will go up. Okay, genius. Didn't it just go up a lot? And people just found that out the hard way. So a lot is pre the print, more so than perhaps the last 5 years, because we just had a massive move in tech, right? We saw it with NVIDIA. Like the week of NVIDIA's earnings, actually, you should have talked about this because it's, I think, impressive. The week of NVIDIA's earnings, my call, and I said this on Twitter, was the week of NVIDIA's earnings is going to be about software. That's the opportunity.
Yeah.
NVIDIA is going to kill it and probably go nowhere and kill the put buyers and call buyers.
Yeah, you did.
And my plan was, and if it goes green, I'm going to buy the hell out of the puts. I remember this one. It was a Thursday. Because by Friday, it's going to go back down. So I actually aggressively bought puts on NVIDIA when it went from red to green, and then it went red again, and those puts went up a lot.
Yeah.
But here's what worked that week. Software that was not priced to beat, that everyone was so bearish on, MDB, an explosion higher, right? Then we had Snowflake, explosion higher. So much of this earnings season is going to be who's priced to perfection and who's not. So ask me as we get closer to it. Because if these stocks continue to ramp, they can give out free ice cream, they can give you an extra wife, a girlfriend, and a car, and they're still not going to go high. So it's
But that example, the NVIDIA software example, I think is a really good example of how you can look at an earnings report and say, you know, pick out the number that matters, or say these are going to be the plays that are going to move off that earnings report, and they're more important than, say, in NVIDIA, when everyone else is focused somewhere else in the market, and that gives members the place to focus instead of just chasing.
I don't want to BS, but I think it was either first or second. My first trade yesterday was, I might have trimmed something I was up on, but my first new trade yesterday was shorting Micron, right? Everyone was all excited about Micron. I'm like, this thing's going to red, I'm going to save it. And I think we made like $4 in a few minutes. So I think it's just understanding how are stocks priced. We all know the market looks 6 months forward, and things can't grow to this, you know, to the moon. They seem to, but eventually, especially during earnings, it takes time, right? And sometimes they get built in, so you gotta let them breathe. So we'll see where the stocks are pre the print.
Yeah, but again, 2.5 weeks away. Within your month is going to be the beginning of earnings season, so you'll get a nice taste of how the inner circle navigates those, especially those aftermarket reports that you can get such, you know, quick volatility on. You guys are reacting to those in real time, which is great. Mikey's saying he's a new customer.
I also caution people. I'll say, listen, if you are not like a seasoned 10-year type of guy or girl who really is running real money, don't play with me after hours. Like, It's not, we don't treat it as a game, and I let people know, this is serious stuff. When you're buying a stock in after hours, it can be cowboy time, so you really have to understand the risk. So I'm very, very disciplined, and I explain the risks and why I'm doing something and what can happen. Because let's face it, after hours is not, it's not a safe time doing this. That's for sure. I thrive in it, but it's not safe.
But it can be a fun time to trade, maybe not invest. Mikey's saying new customers see you inside David. So Mikey, you'll be in there tomorrow morning. We're down to just 14 spots. Again, nearly 4,000 people watching our stream here now. So we're down to just 14 spots left. Nathan has a question. He said, with discipline, can one be profitable in swing trade while working a full-time job? My day job is an architect, so I have access to a computer most of the day.
I can answer that really easily. You don't have to answer it. Okay.
No, yeah, I want you to answer.
What's his name? Nathan?
Yes, Nathan.
Okay. Hey, Nathan, nice to meet you. So I have several friends that are surgeons, doctors. One guy owns like a group of pain clinics, one of the larger group guys running a monster business. I have software engineers. I have attorneys who are in court all day. I have guys who literally are on planes every day, and they make a lot of money. Here's how they do it. Morning call and planning, because we talk about price, plans, where we're getting in, where we're taking profits. So the absolute answer is yes, but here's what's cool about that question. So my friend David, who is a radiologist who used to be out of Houston, sent me a message today. Sorry, because I didn't plan this, so I gotta look for it. Here we go. So my friend David said, thank you for Oracle and QURE. Set orders based on your call in the pre-market at your levels. Did a few procedures, came back and was filled, and I'm nice and green now. I actually bought ORCX at 42.77 using your levels and QURE at 47.07. Thanks. Follow-up question. I bought shares of QURE at 47.07. I like the Huntington disease story, which is a terrible disease. By the way, he's a physician, so he likes to remind me, even though I know. A potential significant treatment is amazing. Where should I trade? So yeah, this guy works hard. Like his patients all have cancer. He doesn't play around. Like that's first, and he plans out, makes a lot of money. There are a lot of people, but
all about having a plan.
Take it upon yourself to really do that extra plan, and tons of people do.
And I will say, we do have, T3 has a mobile app, and your room works the best in the app than any other room we have because of how you and Kira and Rick structure your alert system. Like I showed you guys with the screenshot or with the screen share of the room a bit ago, that alert section, it's really clear. Long, trim, sell, flat. Some people get confused about what flat means in the room, so we'll preempt that. Now flat means they are out of the position. So if David writes flat BM&R, that means he has sold all of his BM&R. So David, Rick, Kira they'll all use the same language: long, short, trim, trailer, flat, etc. So our mobile app works really good for people who are on the go. Because like I use the mobile app to keep up with what David's doing all day. I get, let's see if I can, I get literally push notifications on my phone like this, just like this. A list of push notifications are all trades from Inner Circle throughohout the day. So you can have a
Britney Spears video you're listening to? No, I'm teasing.
It's a picture of my baby. So I have all these alerts. I have, the whole day of alerts here on my home screen. And so if I had been going into the day watching specific levels, I could see, oh, David,
Can I tell them the cool part? So I don't want to be doing this too long. I've been at this a long time. So there's a good time I'll retire in the next few years. So I'm up at 4. Like this is my time, right? So I work at 4 in the morning, dumb hours. I don't sleep. So people get these push notifications sometimes at 4 or 5 a.m. You could turn your phone off. But the point is, if I'm trimming something pre-market, because we do a lot post-market, pre-market, because you get these wild moves. I have friends in California who will get an alert at 1 a.m. that I trimmed the stock. But rather than joke about it, they find it helpful because it means they can actually do what needs to be done.
Well, like one of those tweets I showed earlier with someone saying you were in the room after hours, late. There was like a chunk of time. What was it? I think it was like end of May.
You're probably thinking April, where we were like,
yeah. And I mean, you guys were wild in the room all hours of the day. But on important earnings days or things like that, if you're really active after hours, you're going to get the alerts in the app, and you'll know like, oh, maybe I should pop in the room and see what's happening, because obviously there's some stuff happening. It might be a smaller group in the room, and you can get some, more focused trading with David. Aaron answering Nathan as well, saying he has a full-time job on flights.
True, yeah.
I may trade a few months out of the year, and all it takes is a few trades to have a really great year. Alerts on the app really help, especially when you know what David's plan is for a trade. So
Actually, Aaron's a buddy of mine. Pretty much half his family's on the chat now. But what I want to say is he specifically will send me the funniest. He'll literally send me a picture with a drink on a plane and be like, oh, I caught that pre-market. I have some sales in, and he'll like ask me the price. So he's it really works. You don't have to be on the chat all day, because he sent me some funny messages.
All right, a question from Jonathan asking, how often does DP do short trades and puts trades?
All the time, if I think it's a good idea. We are in a raging bull market, so I'm disciplined as to how I do it. But I shorted Tilray at the top. I shorted SMCI. I even shorted NVIDIA before a 40% drawdown, not because I dislike the company. So
you shorted Micron yesterday.
Oh yeah, sorry, shorted Micron yesterday. RGTI opened down, bounced like 3 or 4. I shorted at 30, like 150, and I was covering most by 29, I think, like at 10 o'clock today. So yeah, all the time if it makes sense. But we are in a bull market, so let's face it, it's probably 10% of the time if you're looking overall. I've been short the Qs since Monday. I covered yesterday. So yeah, we always have some shorts to balance out longs or hedges at the very least.
Okay, we're down to just 12 spots again for our special offer here, and we're also running out of time. So we are going to be wrapping up here very soon. So again, this is your chance to get in. You can go to t3live.com/circle. Just 12 spots remaining for our special offer here today. We heard from Naveed a little bit earlier in a shorter clip, but I did want to play just a longer clip. I feel like it's really impactful to hear from people in their own words from themselves on what Inner Circle has meant to them. So let's hear from Naveed.
The morning call is the key. He goes through all the price targets. He does all the research. He knows which analyst has the most is the axe in that stock. So he would know that. Like, I would not know that, hey, this Goldman Sachs guy is saying this. Like, I don't know if that matters or not, but he has that feel based on his experience that this person matters. Like Katie Huberty matters, or like, Dan Ives matters to this stock. So those are the kind of things that you learn as you listen to him. And sometimes when he's off and when he's not doing things and you see some news, then you're able to make a decision based on that information you have from him.
Yeah,
and he does care. He knows people. I think he knows most people by name and by like in person. Like that's another thing about him. Like most of the chat members that join Inner Circle, he knows about their history. He knows about what their account size is. As a sub, it's I don't know how he does it, because I've been in customer service myself too, and it's hard to remember all those details, but he's able to do that. And I don't find that anywhere else. Like, I've joined Zenger's room, I've joined Doug Cass, I've followed many other people, I've been in the chats. Nobody pays that personal detail or attention to detail the amount that he does, that David does. Yeah.
All right. So again, just 12 spots left for our special offer. You go to t3live.com/circle. I want to piggyback a little bit off of what Naveed had to say there at the end, how you really remember people and their accounts and what they have trouble with and things like that. There are two things I feel like you have a bit of a photographic memory for. It is stocks and your trades, which important. This is how you make a living. So good thing to have a great memory for. And then the people that you're working with. Sorry about that. The people that you're working with on a daily basis, you are great at remembering who they are and how they trade, what their struggles might be, etc. How do you do that?
So I am not a financial guy, but that's not like my thing, right? I went to Vassar thinking I'd be an actor and I don't know, own a bunch of nightclubs and hotels or something. But my point is I am more artistic in my mind. That's how I think. I understand psyche, personalities. That's my edge in stocks is psyche, personality, how stocks act, which CEOs matter, why a CEO will matter to another company. For me, it's all psyche and personality. And that's how I remember stocks and that's how I remember people because that's my edge. It's less about, I can read a balance sheet and do math, but that's not my edge. My edge is just remembering people, what they're like. Oh, that's that guy who always makes that same mistake. That I just think, more like an artist in terms of life and the market than a mathematician.
Yeah. And like we've said, you have this feel for stocks that a lot of people don't. You're not just a chartist. You're not just looking at the technicals. Of course, the technicals matter, but you also really understand the fundamentals of the names that you're focused on. And I think something you do really well, you're not always trading the same names. Like the themes that you and I talked about today for what Inner Circle has been focused on are very different than the themes that we talked about in June that the Inner Circle have been focused on because the market changes. And I think you do a really good job of a new company like a BM&R getting to really know the company, how it behaves, what matters to it, who's backing it, etc. Because you care about those things because you feel like you need to understand that in order to understand how a stock performs in real.
I just feel like anyone who's successful in any industry, they constantly have to push, right? You have to push the envelope or else it gets stale. I don't care what you're doing. So I learned that a long time ago. You can't trade NVIDIA and AMD for the rest of your life or else there will be periods where you just underperform. So I can pretty much look at any industry and kind of give you 10 to 20 names that I know, pretty deep on. So
yeah. And you're
it helps
constantly
being in the
learning
business.
yourself. Constantly learning yourself as you're helping others learn. All right. I'm gonna get kind of toward the end here for everyone. So this is your last call to take advantage of our special offer. You get t3live.com/circle. You get you're paying $800 today for 1 month of Inner Circle, a year of the Epic Trades newsletter, which is a nearly $1,500 offer or value. And then you're going to get that coaching live Q&A session with David next Wednesday, October 1st at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. You'll get to ask him all of your questions. Again, a reminder for all of our new members, if you join today, we ask you to kind of sit back and observe for the next week, get to know what's happening in the room, how the room works before you start asking your questions, and come loaded with questions on October 1st because that's your chance to get them all answered.
It sounded so funny. You're like, come loaded. I'm like, that's the weird. What do you mean, come loaded?
No, come with all of your questions. Attend with all of your questions.
The wallet. Does she mean drunk? Sorry.
No. Okay. So again, tomorrow is an important day for the market. It could be a very big market moving number, the PCE price index tomorrow morning. It is a Friday. And as we talked about earlier, Lotto Fridays are a big thing in the Inner Circle. I can't promise there will be a big Lotto Friday trade tomorrow, but there's always the possibility on a Friday for a big Lotto trade. Again, those are your 0 DTE options that are traded on a Friday. One last clip here. Let's hear from Sandy, who is a longtime member of the Inner Circle as well.
Tell people what put in the room. Don't trade. Watch for a month. Learn the players. Know how each person does it. Like I used to put my trades in, some good, not so good. And now I'm like, I don't even want to put my trades in. I just want to watch what they do because they're so talented. And he taught me about how he uses the 2-minute chart and the move, what he does, but he doesn't play stops, which was the same as I was in the pit. It's all gut and feel, and he just has that feel. And so does Kira and Rick, but David is he has a business model that he does not defer from, no matter what. So I've been in other rooms, guys that are breakout traders, momentum traders, but when the market's not trending, those trades don't work.
Yeah.
And so David actually, in my opinion, does his most unbelievable work in these choppy, sideways, markets that I would never do well in. So I know when to follow his cue. And yes, I will play the breakouts, I will play the momentum and stay with some stuff longer than he does on his own stuff. But it's a fast, to me, I'm old. I'm on Medicare. So it's like for my age to be learning all these new tricks and learning this game. And, all three of them, they trade with such confidence. You got to just listen. I tell the people, watch for a few weeks, watch for a month. It's not about making money right now. If you learn how to do it, you'll have this skill set for the rest of your life.
All right. So there we go. We heard from Sandy. Sandy has been a member of the room for a long time. We're down to just 11 spots. Again, t3live.com/circle. I had something I was going to add to what Sandy had to say. Oh, we're kind of in one of those choppy, hard markets. We've had this amazing bull run throughout the summer, but over the past few sessions, it's been kind of, and you guys have been really doing well.
Pretty darn profitable week this week.
Yeah, it's been a great week for the inner circle, even though it maybe not a great week for everyone who's involved in the market. And that just, again, goes to show what matters when it comes to this market is having a plan in place and knowing where to focus. You're not really trading the indices. You're trading the individual names where you see the best.
Everyone should know, I'm an aggressive indice guy when it's tough.
Oh yeah, of course.
In April, I probably bought half the float in Qs. So the chat wouldn't run out of capital. I actually did it through TQQ, but when it's time to, and TNA was a big position of mine a couple of weeks ago. So we certainly play them, but for me, I always measure risk reward. So if I can garner 4% in an index versus put less capital up sometimes and get 20% in a stock, I'll take the stock any day of the week because I'm always doing it for the same thing, to make as much money as I can with the least amount of risk.
All right, let's quickly, we're down to just 10 spots left for our offer today. t3live.com/circle. We've over 4,100 people watching us here. So this is your chance to get in. One last thing here, David, before we go, give everyone kind of a preview of what your Friday morning call might include tomorrow morning. You haven't been able to do your morning prep yet, but after the market closes on Thursday.
Is I basically look at the surface of the market, right? What are we waiting for? What's the big event? Tomorrow it's the PCE. If the PCE is hot, what might react to the downside most? That might create opportunity. What do we want to stay away from? So let me give you an example. I already know that if the PCE is hot, right? That if tech sells off, that a stock like CoreWeave that has a really healthy chart and just had a big run, if it pulls back to a certain level, I'm going to be a buyer. I don't know what that level is, and I already know I'm buying. I already know that MBIS is not done topping, and we've sold a lot. I sold more yesterday or today, like 112 or something. If it pulled back closer to the 8 and 10 day down near 100, I'd be a buyer, right? I already know that Amazon has been broken for 5 days and is coming into the 200 day. So I know those are names I'll focus on. I already know that it takes some time for some of the hottest Momo names in small and mid cap to break down. Oklo drove everyone bananas, not us, but most people bananas. And then finally, in 2 days, right, gets crushed.
Yeah.
But it took about a week of topping. Now we're seeing the same thing with RGTI and IONQ. So I know that when everyone's having a heart attack and RGTI is up, that's actually a short tomorrow. So we kind of plan these things in advance, and then I'll look at the research and be like, okay, that's going to move the stock. That's not. What are earnings next week? We kind of plan ahead to see if there are any earnings reports we want to play. And then finally, ultimately, what's really important, these are the key levels. So the Qs today, I said, listen, we haven't been below the 10 day if you look at the chart of the queues for weeks, and if we do break it and we're opening below it, you can get a real flush. And that's why the queues went through yesterday's lows and went down another 5. And we'll look intraday and say, okay, at this level, this might happen. So let me give you an example. And this wasn't on the AM call, but still a good example of what happens during the day. Everyone on this, I'm sure, is aware we had a nice bounce off the lows. You are not aware that when the Qs were 593.45, I said 0 shot, this holds. And that a lot of people bought puts, shorted the Qs 594, and a lot of people, when it went to 594, I said, we're not going to test those lows. Probably, that's not my son, right? I said, we're not going to, just making sure, we're not going to test those lows. We'll probably stop around 590, and honestly, a lot of people bought at 590, so we're constantly communicating levels and so on. Now let's go back to the call. The call was, where do we start to be more excited about longs again with indices, with stocks? Well, of course, the 21-day. And on the Qs today, that was 584, and that's communicated on the call. So a lot of it is, here's the research, this is what stock I'm focused on today, this is what stock I'm focused on into next week. Finally, on the call today, I said QURE, given what they just announced, the success of their drug, the fact that it's under a $3 billion market cap, and they're doing a tiny secondary for a biotech, $200 million on a company that just had this news, is nothing that you want to be an aggressive buyer between, I think I said 46 and 48 on the AM call. We bought it today. A lot of that is expressed tomorrow. I don't know if it won't be the same stocks. I gave you a preview of some of the stocks. And that's really what the call's about. Here's the setups. Here's the research that's important. Here's the levels on the indices. Here is number 1, focus 2, 3. Let's get to work.
All right. All right. So we've heard from Craig, Naveed, and Sandy, all members of the room, on why you should join. We've had comments in the chat from current members of the room. We got a couple barking dogs. We got an interruption from my kid. All of these things, the barking dogs and all of that, tend to be really good signs for these webinars and the members that join. So those are good luck charms there. David, Suzanne says, for anyone hesitating, joining this group has been a game changer. Thanks to David, Rick, and Kira, I've not only seen real profits, but my trading discipline has leveled up. Hands down, the best investment I've made. So again, $800 today, you get a month of access to the inner circle. Typically require an application before you could ever get that access. So we're waiving that today. But if you do join, remember my rules. Sit back, relax, observe the room for a bit, and get to know how it works. Next Wednesday, David and I will be hosting a live Q&A session with him for all of our buyers today. So it'll just be 25 of you, the 25 of you that joined today. That's a priceless ad. And then you get a year of the Epic Trades newsletter as well with your $800 purchase today. All right, David, you and I've kept you here for you and I have been on here a little over 2 hours. I've kept you for a while. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. You can go to t3live.com/circle to take advantage of our offer here. And I hope everyone has a great Friday and great month in the room with David.
Regardless if I see you again, thanks for taking the time out to listen. Do appreciate it. And good luck to everyone.
Have a good one, David.